Okay, well, like I said, we're at journal page 54, graphing simple rational functions. Identify the transformations of the graph of f of x equals 1 divided by x that produces the graph of the given function g of x. Then select the graph g of x by applying the transformations to the asymptotes x equals 0 and y equals 0 to their reference points, -1, -1, and 1, 1. Also enter the domain and range of g of x using inequality set notation and interval notation. Okay, so we have g of x equals 3, parentheses, 1 divided by x plus 1 minus 3. Step 1. The transformations of the graph of f of x that produce the graph of g of x are a vertical stretch by a factor of 3, a translation of 1 unit to the left, and 3 units down. Okay? Complete the table. When f of x equals 1 divided by x, the vertical asymptote is x equals 0 and y equals 0 is the horizontal asymptote. The reference points are -1, -1, and 1, 1. When g of x equals 3, parentheses, 1 divided by x plus 1 minus 3, the vertical asymptote is x equals -1, and the horizontal asymptote is y equals -3. And the reference points are -2, -6, and 0, 0. If you would, go ahead and complete the table. All right, now the table is completed. Let's take a look at step 3. Find the domain of g of x. The domain of g of x is based on the h value of -1, okay, which is your asymptote at x equals -1, okay? Okay, so because of that, x is less than -1 or x is greater than -1. In set notation, x such that x does not equal -1, and interval notation is -infinity to -1 or -1 to infinity. Okay? Now, step 4, find the range of g of x, and that's based on k equals -3, which is your y equals -3, which is your asymptote. Okay? Now, inequality notation is y is less than -3 or y is greater than -3. Set notation is y such that y does not equal -3, and interval notation is -infinity to -3 or -3 to infinity. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph g of x. Okay, so we're going to go to add graph, and then we're going to graph 3, parentheses, control, divide 1 divided by x plus 1 minus 3. Okay, now I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to go to menu, view, grid, line grid. Now, we want this point right here, but there's not an exact point. So we're going to have to use this point and this point and this point and this point. So this point right here is -1, 2, 3, -4, -4, and this point is -2, -6. And this point is 0, 0, and this point is 2, -2. Okay, and we can verify that by pressing Control T, and we have -4, -4, -2, -6, 0, 0, and 2, -2. Okay, so we have our points. So -4, -4 is right here. -2, -6 is right here. 0, 0 is right here. And 2, -2 is right there. Now, to understand why the curve is we go back to our asymptote. So we have an asymptote at x equals -1. Okay, so we're going to draw a dashed line at x equals -1. So you can see here that the curve does not touch that asymptote, and we have an asymptote at y equals -3. So -1, -2, -3. So you can see here that we have an asymptote at y equals -3. And the curve lies between the asymptotes. Okay? All right, so go ahead and finish up the graph for step 5. All right. Example 2. Identify the transformations of the graph of f of x equals 1 divided by x that produces the graph of the given function g of x. Then select the graph g of x by applying the transformations to the asymptotes x equals 0, y equals 0 to the reference points -1, -1, and 1, 1. Also enter the domain and range of g of x using inequalities, set notation, interval notation. Okay? So g of x equals 1 divided by 2 parentheses x plus 2 plus 3. Step 1. The transformations of the graph of f of x that produce the graph of g of x are a horizontal compression by a factor of 1 divided by 2, which is right here. Okay? A translation of 2 units to the left, which is here, and 3 units up, which is right here. Okay? All right. Go ahead and finish up step 1. All right, step 2. Find the domain of g of x. So the domain of g of x is based on the h value, which is -2, which means you have an asymptote at x equals -2. Okay? Inequality is x is less than -2 or x is greater than -2. Set notation is x such that x does not equal -2, and interval notation is -infinity to -2 or -2 to infinity. Okay, step 3, find the range of g of x, which is based on the k value, which is 3. So you have a y equals 3 asymptote. Okay. So inequality is y is less than 3 or y is greater than 3. Set notation is y such that y does not equal 3, and interval notation is -infinity to 3 or 3 to infinity. Okay. So let's go ahead and graph g of x. Okay. So to graph that, we're going to go to on, new document, no, add graph, and we're going to press and get the equation is control divide 1 divided by 2 parentheses x plus 2 plus 3. Okay, so press enter. And then we're going to move this out of the way. Okay, we're going to go to menu, view, grid. Oh, lost it. Menu, view, grid, line grid. And then we don't really have a great point, but let's see if we can get a good point from the table. So we're going to press Control T, and it looks like we can use -3, 2.5, and -1, 3.5, okay, as our points. Okay, so we have -3, 2.5, -1, 3.5. Now let's go back and look at the asymptotes. The asymptotes are x equals -2, which is right here. And you can see the graph does not cross at x equals -2. Okay, and then we have an asymptote it looks like at y equals 3. Okay, so, and you can see that the graph does not cross at that asymptote. Okay, and that's how you know the curves are where they are, because they lie between the asymptotes. Okay, so go ahead and finish up your graph for step 4. All right. Let's take a look at example 3. Graphing simple rational functions, journal page 54. Example 3. Enter the function whose graph is shown. Use the form g of x equals a parentheses 1 divided by x minus h plus k. Okay, step 1. Use the graph below to find the asymptotes h and k. So it looks right here, we have our h value because x equals 2. So there's your h equals 2. And your k value looks like it's right here, which is y equals 4. Okay, so your k value is 4. Okay. All right. Now, step 2, substitute the point 1, 1. That's your x, g of x, and the vertex 2, 4, which is h and k, into the equation. So that is 1 equals, we don't know a, parentheses 1 divided by x is 1 minus h, which is 2, plus 4. Okay. All right, step 3, solve for a. Okay, so we can find out what this is using our calculator. So we're going to go to on, new document, no, add calculator. So I'm going to do parentheses, control, divide, 1 divided by 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Okay, so that means 1 equals a times negative 1 plus 4. Well, a times negative 1 is the same as saying 1 equals negative 1a plus 4. Okay, subtract 4 from both sides. So you get negative 3 equals negative 1a. Divide both sides by negative 1. Well, negative 3 divided by negative 1 is 3. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is 1a, which is the same as saying 3 equals a. Okay? So now we have a equals 3. We know that h is 2, k is 4. So our equation is g of x equals 3 parentheses 1 divided by x minus 2 plus 4. Okay? Go ahead and finish up that and have a wonderful Wildcat day.